All right, so anyway, y'all.
I would like to welcome everyone tonight to the 20th anniversary celebration for the William Faulkner Literary Garden. I hope you've had a chance to enjoy the garden over these last 20 years. Our garden club is very proud of the garden. It has been a labor of love for our members. I know all of us have had a chance to work in it with our hands and with Ms. Shara's guidance and several other ladies in the garden club. We've had several chances to work and grow things in the garden. We've also had several visitors, not just North Mississippi, but across the country and internationally. We've had people come and visit the garden. So that, to me, represents what we built here, is having that national recognition and a place to come and visit New Albany. I can't get up here in front of a crowd without mentioning the endowment for the garden that we established last year. If you feel that you would like to make a donation, we did create the endowment for the maintenance of the garden. And if you would like information on making a donation, you can see any garden club member will have a name tag on, or there is a table set up with more information on how you can make a donation to that endowment. The last thing I would like to do before passing it off to Jeff is just to thank, I'm not going to thank anybody individually because it really has been a group effort, but as far as the garden club members, the committees that have put this celebration together tonight, thank you very much. And then also the museum staff, y'all are such an integral part to making this garden what it is. I also have the pleasure of introducing our mayor of New Albany, Mr. Jeff Olson. He's going to share a few words as well.
I heard we're having a toast at some point tonight. Is that true? You know, many years ago, I was a Board of Aldermen. I did serve on the museum board. And Jill sometimes would complain that behind the Faulkner house, there'd be some dirt, little holes scattered all around. Well, let me tell you this, for the past 20 years, I've enjoyed a lot of bourbon. Even though they lived here very shortly, I've enjoyed it. So I was the one that dug up the holes. I'm kidding. But on behalf of the city of New Albany, welcome to William Faulkner's 128th birthday today. And also the 20th anniversary of the Faulkner Garden. And also our special guest, Mr. Rushing. It's a pleasure having you up here tonight. But for what this does and for what Jill Smith brings to the museum, and just, if you would, just give her staff and Steve and everybody a round of applause. But a couple of weeks ago, I was just sitting at my house drinking a cup of coffee, and I opened up the Daily Journal, and I saw this article. If anybody, it's worth looking it up. What an incredible. Miss Owen, thank you for everything that you've done. Jolynn, Lynn Madden, thank y'all. And also the garden club members. I won't over talk tonight because I know we got a tight schedule. But in all sincerity, thank y'all so much for coming. What a great crowd. Thank you so much. And I'm going to pass it on. But again, welcome to New Albany.
And salute. Please repeat with me the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under
Request the colors. Color guard dismissed.
Would you bow your heads in prayer, please? Almighty God, loving Father, giver of all good things, creator of all beautiful things, we thank you for the beauty of nature, which is your handiwork, for the seasons you have planned to make things grow, for the sunshine and the rain. We thank you for the gardens which enable us to become serene, helpful, when the world around us is in so much turmoil. Make us ever mindful of our great heritage, that we may conscientiously protect and conserve those natural resources so generously entrusted to us as temporary pilgrims on this earth. Forgive us that we have wasted so much of its treasure and marred so much of the beauty. Create within us a spirit of humility and understanding, that in weeding brambles and thorns from our gardens, we also weed out jealousy and hate from our hearts. Give us wisdom that we may have peace and harmony in our lives. For only do we have power to project our thoughts for peace and harmony to our neighbors, to the nation, and to the world. But as we enjoy the fruit of our labors, will you please enrich our lives with the fruit of your Spirit, peace that passes all understanding, joy that strengthens us because it comes from you, the love that makes it possible for us to love the unlovable. Thank you most of all, Lord Jesus, for saving our souls, for feeding us the breath of life, for promising us a future of eternal blessedness with you. All these things we ask in your precious name of him who was called the Rose of Sharon and the Lily of the Valley. Amen.
This garden didn't come about by a breath of air. This garden came about by a lot of hard work, by a lot of people for a long time. So I have to acknowledge those who had part in this garden. And I'm going to start with the beginning. Like in the beginning, in 2005 is when this garden was dedicated. But there had to be some work done before we got to 2005. So in the beginning, Jill Smith, when I call your name, would you please stand until I finish, and then we'll applaud everybody. So Jill Smith is the person that we owe so much to. She's been working all day and all yesterday, and she gets out and helps pick up the trash and blow off she does it all. She does it all. And we depend on her from paper clips to PowerPoints. Joy Fisher was the president of the Garden Club when we began this journey, and she wrote the first grant that we had. Sam Creekmore, he's standing, wave at us, designed this garden, and Mitch Campbell, Mitch get here? Mitch Campbell led in the construction of this garden. Angie Quinn, Angie get here? Angie gave us the first 25 quotes to start with. We now have 54. And if you have one that you don't see in our garden and give it to us, you will go in our books too. Tracy Olson. Jeff, would you stand for Tracy? Tracy helped us do our first PowerPoint when we didn't really know much about PowerPoints. And getting ready for that dedication. Zach Stewart. Does anybody in here remember Zach Stewart?
Yes, absolutely.
Zach was our #1 volunteer. Zach led in building those fences and building those trellises and building the arbors. He was our #1 man. And if Jill even thought it, Zach would build. So, and we missed that, and Zach's funeral was in this, out in the area where this garden is. And I don't know, if you looked close, you might see, he might have been requesting to be buried under that barn. Because he loved this place, he loved it. Phil Morris and Dave Morris, are you here by any chance? They gave us our first signpost. Eric Campbell provided the material. Ken Owen, did you get here? He's fresh out of the hospital. He puts down the bricks here. Ann Stephens gave us our first financial contribution. If you donated a plant and you're here to this garden in the beginning, this is a pass-along garden, would you please stand? All right, those, I see several people who are not standing who have given us plants for this garden. Garden club members and committees, you'll see on the back of your program, that very first garden club membership, everyone was on the committee. And everyone participated somehow in getting this garden ready. If you participated in the 2005 dedication, would you stand? If there's anyone else who participated in 2005, 4 and 5, in doing anything for this garden, would you please stand up? Anybody else? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Those are the names I'm going to call. These people are garden contributors since that first dedication. And you know, Sam, do you remember that first dedication? We had a big crowd too, didn't we? But does anybody remember who came uninvited that day? The Hurricane Rita. And she showed up with a vengeance and kept us all inside. We thought forever, but she finally let us go enough that we could dedicate that garden. But she welcomed us here. All right, garden contributors. Has anybody in here written a grant? Stand up again. Yes, you stand up again. Jill, she's written many. She's written. Is anybody in here given monetarily any time in the last 20 years to this garden? I see you sitting out there. Stand up. Has anybody given us quotes? Told us about a quote that you know. This is how we get our information. Has anybody written a plant story? We have a whole book over there, plant stories. Anybody here who wrote one of those stories? Anybody given an object or hardscape, something for the hardscape? Anybody purchased a brick or a bench? Anybody served on the Faulkner Garden Committee since 2005? Oh yeah, these are good people. Are there any scouts here who did your Eagle project? We have some books that talk about them in here. Has anybody done another garden project? Is anybody in here plant donor? Now this is after 2005 and before, just overall, who's donated a plant to this garden? And there have been so many people, so many people. Physical work in the garden? All right, y'all go ahead and stand up. Most of you have, so many of you. Physical work in this garden. Anybody ever done anything else for this garden? And I see a man sitting right back there who gave plants, and I didn't see you stand up. Over here in the Faulkner Library are several books of history, and your names, these names of these people will be in those books. If you've done something and your name is not in one of those books, let me know. We'll be sure it's in there. Then there's some joys of the garden. Have you ever helped helped with or attended an event? And Jill's had we've had many events here. Have you ever helped with an event in this garden or been there? And y'all, I'm proud of you. You don't stand up. Has anybody ever taken a tour of this garden? Anybody ever purchased a plant from our plant sale? Anybody ever had a PowerPoint presented at your church or your organization? All I see is, all right, let's applaud nodding these heads. We thank you so much for being here. And there's a man here who has a little bit of history. He learned to love plants at the knees of his grandmothers. You tell me if I'm wrong on any of this. He studied plants at Mississippi State University. And then he turned around and he taught about plants at Mississippi State University. Then he decided to write about plants in how many books? 30 books. And who knows, hundreds of articles that he has written. So he's not new to this. He talks with gardeners every week on a radio show, which he is going to do from our garden in the morning at 9 o'clock. It's called the Gestalt Gardener. MPB, I just think MPB ring. That's how I hear that when you're that's how you call it, MPB ring. He judges plants for the royals in England. Can you believe we're in the presence of somebody who judges plants for the royals in England? And he's Mississippi's favorite gardener, Mr. Faulkner.
Shara asked about everybody who did everything except how many of y'all have stolen some cuttings or seeds out of that garden. I got some plants out there that I've already got at home because I wanted them from this garden. But I made sure I left plenty. I want to start off by, first of all, Shara and Jill, thank y'all so much for having me here. This is a real honor for a Delta boy. When I'm in England, people say, "Are you from Mississippi?" I say, "Yeah." They said, "Have you ever been to the Delta?" And I'm thinking, I flunked out of Mississippi Delta Junior College. I'm going to get more Delta than that. I want to start off with a quote, though, because we're going to talk not about gardening, horticulture tonight, but about gardening. And I want to share a quote that's a little surprising to some folks, if I can find it. This is in one of my books here. And it's just a couple of sentences long. "The world to me is a secret which I desire to divine. Curiosity, earnest research to learn the hidden laws of nature, and a gladness akin to rapture. They're among the earliest sensations I can remember. There's a love of the marvelous, a belief in the marvelous, which hurries me out of the common pathway of other men." Who do you think said that? Dr. Victor Frankenstein. You know, there's all sorts of approaches towards things, and I want to talk tonight about gardening. First of all, I want to throw this out. There's a guy named Saint Faulkner. He's Catholic, official patron saint of gardeners. Not Saint Francis the bird guy, but a guy who shared his flowers, his herbs, and his love of gardening to everybody who came by. He was from the 9th century. And like him, I just want to throw out some ideas tonight, because I figure I'd never get invited back, so let's just blow it out tonight. By the way, any members of the Mississippi Gardening Facebook here tonight? A bunch of weirdos. I can tell you that. Bunch of weirdos. Let me see if I can find this little button again. There's that button right there. There. The word garden comes from an old word, gordos, which meant a guarded place. A guarded place. Gordos became hortos in horticulture, courtyard. Had this idea you're in a special place, separate from the rest of the world, a guarded area. And that's where all this comes from. And to get in my back garden, some of you have seen my garden in Jackson. I have a garden in here and in Mississippi and in England. But to get to my back garden, because I rent my front house out because I'm gone all the time, and I live in a little cabin in the backyard. It's a tiny little cabin, 350 square feet. Ladies, if you want to cook in my kitchen, you can either open an oven or open a drawer. That's it. It's 8 foot by 8 foot inside dimensions. But to get in my back garden, you have to pass through a little gate, and there's a big, thick, hairy rope hanging out there. Any idea why I would put that rope hanging out there? Because you cannot get into my garden without touching that rope. You have to touch something. You have to slow down. You have to feel it. You have to have an experience. I don't want to just blow into my garden. When I get home tomorrow, when I travel around the country, around the world, when I get home, the first thing I do when I get home is I fist bump that little rope and said, I'm home. I'm safe. I'm in my little place. And that's really important to me. It's precious to me. And I think it's important that we keep in mind that whether it's your garden or your community or your state or your country or your world, it should be a special place. It's separate from other things. If you get up in my yard and turn around and look back toward the street, this is what you see. But my garden is designed from the house looking out. I don't owe anything to strangers zipping up and down the street. My garden is laid out from my point of view, and I think that's really important. I also have a lot of plants. A lot of them are pass-along plants I've gotten from people all over the place. And I have something in bloom every single week of the year. I can eat out of my garden every month. And keep in mind, I'm gone 6 months out of the year. Nobody waters. Nobody covers things up. So over the years, I've learned to grow things that like it in Mississippi. A lot of times they're things I was raised with. When I'm in England, I see things that I'd love to grow in Mississippi. They won't grow here because it ain't England. We can't grow fuchsias here. We can't grow lavender very well. We can't grow cherries here. But they would give anything to be able to grow a tomato or sweet potatoes or okra. It's not warm enough there. See, so every place you go, they have their own little thing. I do have a little slice in my back garden that looks kind of Englishy because I just put a bunch of old plants out there and I shoved a couple of English chimney pots out there and a little gnome to make it sort of look like England. I don't live in England though. I live in Mississippi. In my front garden, I've got a collection of cacti and succulents because that's the way it seems like our climate is going. I went to San Antonio and Dallas and Fort Worth. I went to Oklahoma City. I'm looking for places to get just as cold as Mississippi, but it's a lot hotter and a lot drier. And so I'm looking for plants that will do well, not only now and in the past, but in the future. These are the kind of plants that I really go for. I also have a stumpery in my back garden. Any of y'all have too much shade to grow grass? Anybody? Yes. How many of you are tired of dragging limbs to the street or to the burn pile? What I did, I started piling them up. Some people have a rock garden. I got a stump garden. It's called a stumpery. And because of that, I've got all sorts of cool plants. There was nothing would grow there. So I started planting things around stumps, and every time a limb falls, I just pile it up out there. And because I'm doing it on purpose, it looks like I know what I'm doing. My great-grandmother, as Sharon mentioned, was a horticulturist. In this picture, she was given a presentation on growing herbs back during World War II. And she said herbs because it's got an H in it. Any questions, Master Gardeners? Okay, the French say herb. For that matter, French say soil. Soilier is French for dirt, which is English for soil. So if I say dirt, it's okay. I'm speaking English. But anyway, she showed me a whole lot of cool stuff. She grew 350 different kinds of daffodils. When I was 10 years old, I helped her divide and move these things. 350 different kinds. There's only about 2 dozen still blooming, but I know their names. If I wanted to start somebody on daffodils, I don't care about the 325 that didn't make it. What are the ones that will come back and bloom and spread like you see around all home sites and the country gardens along the interstate? These are the plants I want to start people out, and that's where my life's work has come in, looking at what does well and documenting it and trying to encourage people to start there. Start with what grows in Mississippi, and there's plenty of them. She was in a member of the garden club. She was in a blue ribbon winner. Now, I've had my share of ribbons over the years, but she told me when I was like 15, she said, you know, if you want to get a blue ribbon or yard of the month or anything like that, it's not what you know that counts. It's not even what you do. It's how you figure out ahead of time what the judges are looking for. You got to jump through hoops if you want accolades. And it's going to be important down then. She showed me how to make fig preserves. When I was 12 years old, we put up 60 quarts, not these little yuppie half-pint things, 60 quarts in the Mississippi Delta in July over a wood-burning stove. So, yeah, that's what I was thinking. But I found out, my friends from Vermont, you can get Vermont maple syrup at every Piggly Wiggly in the South. But you got to know somebody to get homemade fig preserves. That's something that's real special to the South, After my great-grandmother passed away, we were rummaging around her old barn and all, and I came across a bunch of old pots and all, and uncovered some McCoy pottery. Any of y'all know about McCoy pottery? They were just piled up out there because she collected these things and frogs and stuff. She was a real gardener, and she used all these kind of things. But she also had this cool plant called a night blooming cereus. Any of y'all have this? It is not this is the plant that makes my hair look good. I mean, seriously, it is a scraggly plant, but when it blooms, it is just magic. It opens in the evening, and Eudora Welty used to have parties. Well, before that, we've always had parties waiting for this thing to open and talking about everybody who wasn't there. But she showed me a couple of other things. Any of you grow larkspur? Old-fashioned larkspur. It's a good reseeding. It's an old-fashioned plant. You ought to give it a try. You throw the seeds out in the fall, it grows over the winter, blooms in spring, and then reseeds itself. Larkspur. It's a nice little reseeding, overwintering plant. But she showed me something really unusual about it. I could make your eyes bleed with detail about growing these plants, but I'm here to show you the little things that make more difference to a gardener. She showed me that every one of these little flowers, the individual flowers about the size of my big toenail, if you look in the middle of it, every single one has got a rabbit. Isn't that a stupid thing to know? I mean, but that's the kind of stuff that made me decide I don't want to be a horticulturist anymore. I was a horticulture at university. I've written all these books. I'm a member of the Royal Horticultural Society, American but I just want to relax and enjoy and share little things that are important. And this is more important than the how-to I used to. By the way, I taught master gardeners a whole lot of things that were correct, but they weren't right. I have to give you an example. You don't have to have your soil tested. There, I said it. There's a lot of stuff. My grandmother, not my great-grandmother, the horticulture, her daughter-in-law, Grady, was born between Kilmichael and Stewart, if y'all know where that is. And when she got older, she grew zinnias and had a concrete chicken. That was it. That's all she cared about, her zinnias and her concrete chicken. And she lived across the street from her mother-in-law, the horticulturist. Can you feel the tension between these women? And Granny did not care at all because she loved her zinnias. One year I got her, I saw her looking out the window and said, "Granny, what's up?" She said, "Well, I'm thinking about my zinnias." This was the wintertime. And I didn't know if she was talking about last year's zinnias or next year's zinnias, but in her mind, she was looking at her garden and she saw that chicken. In her mind, she saw zinnias. And when she passed away, everybody was arguing. They were over her worldly possessions, divvying up all of her stuff. What are we going to do with the car? Who's going to get the shiffer robe, which I got, by the way. And while everybody was dividing up her stuff, I went out in her garden and I stole her chicken. And I put it in my garden. And one year, my friend Steve Bender, the grumpy gardener for Southern Living, he said, "Rusty's got a chicken in his garden." I'm thinking, you don't get it, Bender. I've been to Versailles. I've seen 8-foot naked goddess statues, okay? But let me ask you this. What is more important in my little cottage garden in Jackson, Mississippi, an 8-foot naked goddess statue or my grandmother's concrete chicken? And to me, this is just as important as anything that Louis XIV had. And when I look out there, I don't see a concrete chicken. I see my grandmother and her zinnias. That's a little thing that's not in horticulture, it's in gardening. By the way, I got P. Allen Smith to bless the chicken. He's all about heirloom chickens and all, so he says she's a fine bird. So that's my point. When we start getting kind of uppity about our possessions, and who's got my son's got a big truck. He thinks he's a great guy because he has a big truck. I drive a beat up old '88 Ford F-150. My truck gets me. Well, it was going to get me up here, but it's got transmission problems. So I brought my Jeep instead. Oh, let's show you this. I didn't bring my truck, but I bought a truck. Okay, now all it is a truck with a box with some drainage holes and some plants. Any questions? Okay? If you can do this, you can do what I've done in the back of my regular truck. By the way, it's got a bottle tree in it. Anyway, I just had to show that. I did bring my truck. Anyway, I forget where I was going with that. I've written 3 books out of all the books I've done in all the magazines and newspapers and lectures and stuff like that. There's only 3 that are important to me of all the stuff. One, some of you have, it's called Pass Along Plants. Co-written by Steve Benner and I. It's about the kind of plants that everybody grows but nobody buys. And almost every one of these plants in the literary garden next door are in that book. It's the kind of plants that knit us together, and I'll talk about that. But that was about plants. There's 3 things that make a garden: plants, process, and I'll touch on the other in a minute. Process is how do you do it. You know, we pull all these plants from all over the world into our collection. We can grow what we want to grow, why we like it, whether it's good to eat or pretty. We choose our own. When you go to the church buffet, you decide whether you want that green bean casserole or not. Which, by the way, she brought last month too. Y'all don't get that, do you? You decide what's going on your plate, and that's why it is with your garden. But how you grow it, how you arrange them, how you put them together in sun and shade and all like that starts getting into horticulture. I don't want to get too much into that. I'm not really going to even talk much about pass along plants, but basically, for a pass along plant to be a pass, it has to have 3 things. First of all, it's got to be valuable. It's got to be pretty or edible, or it reminds you of somebody, or you stole it from the Faulkner garden. Or it's tastier, it blooms longer, it's historic, it's native, it's pollinated plant. All these different values. The more different values a plant has, the more different kinds of people are going to grow it. Lots of values. Poison ivy has got great fall color. That's not enough. Okay? And also, it's got to be easy to grow and just plain old dirt. If you got to do stuff to it, only horticulturists or garden club folks are going to do it. We want plants that are valuable and easy to grow by garden variety garden. And third of all, if you can't share it, it's not going to go very far. I've got some terrific plants that are one of a kind. And when I'm gone, it's gone. But I got a lot of plants that I got from other people. I'm going to touch on those in just a minute. Here's an example. This is a plant that has survived being mulched with broken beer bottles. Hello? Anybody live on a rural road, have trouble with people banging on your mailbox and stuff? This is the plant that's 100 yards from the hose, and it blooms every year with no care at all. It's valuable, it's pretty, it's easy to share. Here's another one. No, actually, this one is not easy to show. Anybody know what this plant is? It's not an oak tree, I can tell you that. It's a rowan. Y'all know rowan oak? Faulkner's rowan oak? It's a member of the rose family. It looks like a pyracantha tree. But rowan wasn't an oak. I'm not going to tell Faulkner what to write about. When he said rowan oak, nope, they ain't the same thing. And they're hard to share because they don't grow that well around here. But then you look at 4 o'clocks. How many people grow 4 o'clocks? You know, we used to grow those because we didn't have air conditioning. We sat out on the porch. When they started blooming, the hummingbirds went away. The big moth came out at night, and we would run out of stuff to say. But somebody sooner or later would say, "Boy, don't those 4 o'clocks smell good?" It's what Thomas Jefferson called the marvel of Peru. And if you don't have any 4 o'clocks, it's because you don't have any friends. Any of you familiar with David Austin Roses?
Oh, yeah.
My partner, head of marketing of David Austin Roses, we go literally worldwide, all over the place looking at David Austin Roses. But they're not easy to share, and they're expensive. So what I look for are the kind of roses that are more meaningful. This is one that's called Peggy Martin. Any of y'all grow Peggy Martin? When Katrina came along, this woman named Peggy Martin, I've known her for years and years and years. She was a rosarian, and her house got underwater. It was in a levee area that filled up with water during Katrina, and for 20 days, it was under salt, brackish water. And when it all went away, the only plant still living was this rose right here. And they decided to call it the Katrina rose, and all the funds from selling it went to restore old historic gardens. Now it's called the Peggy Martin rose, and it will absolutely not fail to bloom if you just put it on something big enough, because it's an awful big rose. But these kind of plants, everywhere I go in the springtime, I see Peggy Martin everywhere. How about garlic? Any of you grow garlic? Yes? No? I grow garlic not because I really like it, but because I feel real smug because I grew it myself. Here's a plant that I like to show the kind of pass along plants. Here's one that is proof that there are plants that dead people can grow. Okay? This is the old orange daylily. How many of you have it? How many of you would not have it if it's the last plant on earth? The reason I'm saying that because this plant is something unusual about this plant. The American Horticultural Society, which I'm a board member, we put it by our sign. Every plant society in the country wanted their precious plant by our sign. We went with this because nobody really loves it. And we want to show that gardening is a big tent, that this plant is valuable. By the way, it's perfectly edible. It's easy to grow, grows in cemeteries. It's historic. This plant has been grown for over 3,000 years. But get this, it doesn't set seed. Everywhere you see this, it came from another one that came from another. Sooner or later, it came from somebody's garden. It would not be anywhere if it weren't for gardeners spreading around. And when this plant, by the way, the double one called Kwanzaa, it's been around for over 3,000 years as food. You can fry them up and eat them, and they're just as good and as healthy as broccoli. So when you say, I'm hungry, look for the orange daylily. That'll get you by. The reason I want to mention that because Faulkner, this is one of the pictures that I have out here of some of the edible plants out there. We don't think of them as being edible. This is the native plant. It's called American beautyberry, and it's perfect. The Native Americans used to use it as a filler, sort of like crumbling crackers up in your chili. They used it to make their pemmican go further. It's real mealy tasting. You're going to have something to go with it. But it's the kind of plant where if you're hungry, we have native plants out there, and there's plenty of them. Chrysanthemums, everybody grows daffodils, everybody, in the springtime. What do you have in the fall? How many of you have that old-fashioned pink chrysanthemum called Clara Curtis? Anybody? And do you do anything to it? It blooms every year. There are chrysanthemums out there that will bloom every October and November with no care at all. Why don't we grow them? Well, because they're not daffodils. And everybody grows daffodils. What I'm trying to say is you can have all these things all year long. I like to collect succulents because I'm gone a lot. Nobody's going to water my stuff. If it can go 3 months without water, it'll survive in my yard. I can't grow African violets because I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not going to take care of stuff. It's not like a dog. It's more like a cat. It'll figure stuff out itself. So I look for these kind of plants, and I find that little succulents and cactus all over the place. And if it grow over here with no care or grow in a cemetery urn, what I do is I take all these tough plants and I pull them together into one spot, and it looks like I know what I'm doing. But all I'm doing is just collecting really, really tough plants. By the way, my great-grandmother had all these flower frogs when she passed away. Her daughter-in-law, Granny, the concrete chicken lady, she got them. And she put them in a box. When she died, my mother got them. I'm thinking, there's a pattern here. My mother, literally on her deathbed, I went to her house and I stole every one of them. And I use them. I use them all the time, flower frogs. But it reminds me of people who like to collect stuff. A lot of people I collect certain kind of things. How many of you collect, well, maybe I shouldn't say this at the church, shot glasses or refrigerator mirrors? A lot of us collect things because we just like to do stuff like that. And whether it's a Daylily Society group or a Camellia Society group, all the camellias, or African violets, whatever, the people who collect things have a couple of things in common. Attention to detail. And we can look at, this is not mine, but a friend of mine, he can look at every one of these shot glasses to tell you a story about where it came from. And that's the way we treat our roses and our other plants, sharing stuff. Now, let me get to pass all this a little bit about gardening, the how-to of gardening. Anybody have trouble making a BLT sandwich? You know how much mayonnaise put on it without making your bread soggy? A little bit of salt, a little pepper, how to slice a tomato that doesn't come out the end. If you can do that, you can garden. There's skills in home cooking that are the same skills as home gardening. We just take it outside, we use different tools and all. Now, the reason I want to mention that, because I subscribe to the Mr. Potato Head approach to design. Remember Mr. Potato Head? How many of you all remember when Mr. Potato Head, you had to get your own potato? And now it comes with a plastic one, and it already has the holes telling you where to put the ears. You know, if I want to put 3 pair of ears on it, you could do that with a real potato, but now it's all streamlined. Well, Mr. Potato Head, you need a nose, you need a couple of eyes, some ears, and all that kind of stuff. Well, this is the way we do plants. You get plants, you need something that really grabs your attention, some spiky stuff around, some frilly stuff. Mr. Potato Head, if you can do that, you can design gardens. Plain and simple. When it comes to the how-to of horticulture, I really want to get too much in it. There's a lot of things we really need to do. As a gardener, I learned that if I keep my shovel sharp, it's easier to dig. It's like shaving. Have you ever been halfway through shaving and decided this in and put your old razor, get a new razor, and it almost kills you? Makes it, little things like keeping your tools sharp. Those are good gardening tips, and I appreciate that. Pruning. We all prune stuff. I don't cut my hair, but I do shave. I know what to do. I shave this, I shave it. But how many of you ever heard you're supposed to prune a rose above an outward-facing 5-leaf leaf? Who's ever heard that? Anybody? You can prune roses with cherry bombs or deer and they'll still bloom. But the horticulture has a lot of rules and they make sense. I understand the rules, but they don't apply when you're in home garden. When I'm in England, people take a lot of attention to detail, a lot of pride in workmanship, a whole lot of pruning done over there. And we do that too a lot of times. Gumdrops and meatballs. We like to prune things because it keeps things neat. Well, there's a different approach. This is the fellow who lived outside Black Hawk, which is out from Carolina. He didn't even know how to spell topiary, but he did 100 yards of life-size creatures, cowboys on horses. He had deer, he had whales, sharks, all this stuff. And all he just did it because he did it with one hand in a pocket. He went around just pruning those things. He said, because you can't just sit there. Now, anybody can do a gumdrop or a meatball shape. He decided to do something because he saw it in a book one time, decided to do it himself. Is he crazy? No, attention to detail, pride in workmanship, those are important values. Who's ever seen a magnolia espaliered against a wall? Is that natural? Does it hurt the plant? Y'all are you're not with me on this, are you? Does it hurt a plant to prune it up against the wall? No, it's just pruning. The reason I'm saying that, because there's one plant, only in the southeast United States is it considered sacred, and that's the crepe myrtle. Because Steve Bender, the grumpy gardener, 27 years ago, coined a phrase, crepe myrtle. He coined it, he invented it. I was there. It came out of a bottle of gin. Trust me on that. It set neighbors against neighbors, made people start being judgmental. And the reason I want to say that, there are correct ways to prune crepe myrtle. I taught the arboriculture course at Mississippi State. I know about plant physiology and wound physiology and all like that. But here's one that's in my neighborhood. And I have permission. You see this thing, right? It's all leggy and all, right? Well, they told me I could do whatever I want to with it, so that's what I did with it. I whacked it back. And the master gardeners went nuts. They went nuts because you can't do that. Well, you do it to your roses, and they bloom okay. You do your althea, the roses share. But what they didn't know is when I took all those sticks on, I got all of these sticks off that one tree. And then we started making them, master gardeners at the Agricultural Museum in Jackson, Herb Garden, we started making little teepees and two-turns. And, this is where those woven fences came from. You see in England, those little wattle fences, they make them by cutting plants back and that long stuff comes out. And that's where they get their weaving stuff. It's called pollarding. It's been done for hundreds and hundreds of years, including by arborists with the Royal Horticultural Society. So when Steve Bender says you're a bad person for doing that, people in England say, shut up. It's all right. It's like plucking eyebrows. It's not that big a deal. This is what that tree looked like the very next summer. The one that I pruned so hard. Did it hurt the tree? No. Is there an argument against pruning it? Yes. But doesn't? No. It's not that big a deal. Matter of fact, this is the last one I'm showing you. In the foreground is a crepe myrtle that's nice and sculptural, architectural, like they're supposed to be, right? Well, look in the far back. You see that one in the back that's got those big knobs on it? That's been done like that since 1918. Do the math, okay? 1918 has done like that. And this is at headquarters of the American Horticultural Society. They think it's okay. So my point is, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you want to do it, you're in good company. It's okay. Hold your head up. But if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to do it and tell somebody else they shouldn't do it, you're the kind of person who come to my house at a party, go to my bathroom and turn my toilet paper roll around because that's the way you do it. Roll it your own way. Now, some of you aren't going to like this, but it's kind of liberating at the same time. It's like the myth of Sisyphus, the guy rolling the rock up the hill and keeps running it down, roll the rock up, rolls down, endless, ceaseless, eternal toil. I'm not into that. there's a lot of things that horticulturists do that I will not do. Okay? I'm not going to drag a hose the rest of my life. I'm just not going to do it. Let me share you a real quick thing. This is called Stella Lee's Punch Pie. It's from a book called White Trash Cooking. Who's ever seen the book? It's a real book with real recipes from Mississippi. And they got a recipe in there called Stella Lee's Punch Pie. And follow me on this. You take an old pie from the Dale rack of the supermarket, right? Is this what y'all were expecting tonight? No? We'll get to that. You take an old pie from the Dale rack, and you can sit out in the parking lot in your truck and eat it from the box. I've done it. You can do that. What you do is you take it home after it's been cooked, and you punch holes all in the top, and you sprinkle a little sugar on it, and don't load it down, and then you pour rum or brandy, getting into all the holes, and then set fire to it. It's called making it prissy. Okay? What have we done? We took something simple and easy and beautiful that everybody understood, and we made it more and more interesting to fewer and fewer people. And I would submit that that's what horticulture does to gardening. More and more interesting. I don't have any grass going on. I wrote the foreword of the best-selling lawn care book in the South. Don't own a blade of grass. Just say no. I learned that back in 1960. Just say no to grass. I don't even cut my hair. I do shave, but I've got a neighbor who, when he mows his grass, he puts oil in the carburetor. And why does he do this? Because he thinks it's funny. Look at his smile. He turns it into, he's the only person mowing his grass who's actually smiling. I did have some grass for a while. I had a little red wagon with a piece of sod in it. The piece of sod had blown off a truck on the interstate. I went to the next exit, came back and rescued it. So I grew a little grass, and everything I did to this, the mowing, the watering, the weeding, all that, is the same thing that you do in your yard, except I could do it with a glass of wine in one hand. But I was raised thinking lawns were meant to be not just something out there to play golf on. You know, in the wintertime, you can have daffodils. How many of you have daffodils in your lawn, and then when it comes time to mow, you just mow them down and you have a grass the rest of the year? It's perfectly okay to have lawn and daffodils. One's in the winter, one's in the summer. How about this? I saw this in Tupelo. You know, oxalis, the kind of stuff everybody hates. That's not bad, because they mow it, and it's pretty. It's so much, you know, green is not the only color out there. And when it comes to summertime, it just turns into grass. It's okay to do that. As a matter of fact, I've got a neighbor who has a beautiful lawn in the summertime, but in the wintertime, this right around the corner from me, this is what his yard looks like. He waits until April to start mowing, so he has pollinators and wildflowers, low-growing stuff, and daffodils. Matter of fact, what we did to make it a little bit easier, we made a sign for him to put out in his yard, so the neighbors would understand he's doing this on purpose. He's enjoying a pollinator lawn, which, by the way, they're doing research at Mississippi State on the type of plants you can grow in your lawn that will not interfere with the summer lawn but grow in the wintertime. No big deal. Last year, my granddaughter was 4 years old, so at their house, it's my son's house, I planted a bunch of clover and I put flags around so the mowers wouldn't mow it. Because my son he's an Army officer, he was deployed, and it was up to me to take care of his yard. So I just put some flags around so the mowers would take care of it. Why did I do this? Any idea? Because my granddaughter was 4 years old, and I wanted to grow up thinking that a lawn is for having fun in. I made it where she could run around. She would not go out in the yard otherwise, but I gave her a place. She would go up there and run around and be a child because she had a path to it's a stupid little thing, but that's the topic of my talk. They said I was talking about, what is it? It's all about the little things. What I meant to say, it's about the stupid little things. Y'all were taught us is plant out of place. Any plant having to deal with an unhappy human. I grow wildflowers in my front yard, native plants, excuse me, they're not wild. I put them in my yard. They're no longer wild. They're cultivated native plants. Wild is letting it go. Just forget about it. And when I go over to Europe, the Royal Horticultural Society, we just opened our first new botanic garden in 70 years. Imagine a place that England will fit inside Mississippi. They have 5 major botanic gardens. We don't have one. But they opened this one up, and they had this long flowing late summer flower border, 100 yards of flowers, and 80% of them are native to Mississippi. because they don't see them as native plants or as wildflowers. They see them as good plants. We often overlook them because we just don't grow them. This is a garden that's in Germany. Almost every plant in here is native to Mississippi, and they grow them like regular flowers. How about goldenrod? One of the top 10 perennials grown in English gardens. You go they sell them for the equivalent of about $15 a pot, and they'll have 12 different varieties in fancy gardens. I told an Englishman one time, I said, it's kind of invasive, it'll get away from you. And he gave me this blank look. He said, you just pull it up, don't you? Oh, you mean like garden? So people that, well, I'm going to grow it because it spreads. Just pull it up. It takes less time to control your goldenrod all year than it takes to shave your legs one time. I'm just saying. By the way, here in this garden, Cheryl's got even a cultivar. This is called Fireworks. Look, goldenrod, they have long spurted. See, so you can have different varieties of goldenrod besides that tall field goldenrod. But if you want to really get away with it, if you want to grow some wildflowers in your garden, put a piece of fence out there, put a wagon wheel, something that lets people know you're doing it on purpose. It's called accessorizing, and it's okay. I'm an old, straight white guy, and I'm telling you, it's okay to accessorize. By the way, goldenrod, in the same family as sunflowers and zinnias, got heavy pollen, cannot float in the wind, cannot make you sneeze. Ragweed on the other side, that's what makes you sneeze. It's wind pollinated. And when you look around, you don't see the ragweed, you see the goldenrod, and he gets blamed. But it's ragweed that makes us sneeze. Goldenrod is in the same family as sunflowers and zinnias. Anyway, I want to move on from this because we have other stuff to do. Let me just get through this. We're going to get to the little things real quick. Here we go. Slow gardening. I'm real big about taking it easy, enjoying what you do. It's about doing what you want to do in your backyard, doing what you want to do. It's okay. We don't have to do the Edward Scissorhands thing and be like everybody else. I had a friend who's had this potted plant, this bonsai, for 40 years. He's watered it, he's pruned it, he's trained it, he's fertilized it, repotted. 40 years he's taken care of this. It's his hobby. It's his passion. It gives him focus. It gives him continuity. And he loves it. The problem is when he dies, one of his kids is going to get this and it ain't going to make it because it's his hobby, not theirs. Hand pollinating daylilies, not hard to do. You can grow your own daylily, name it after your dog if you want to. It's not hard to do this kind of stuff. How about taking pictures? This is gardening. Have you ever scrubbed your fingernails so hard that your fingertips tingled? Anybody? That's part of gardening. Well, taking photography means you're paying attention. You're looking at things. You're angling. You're immersed in it. You're actually participating in that. Umami is a word I like to use a lot. We have sweet, sour, salt, and bitter. But what is mushroom? Sweet, sour, salt, or bitter? What's chicken soup? What flavor is a steak? Sweet, sour, salt, or bitter? None of those. It's savory, and the word for that is umami. It means savory. And to me, that's that little extra bit of gardening, savoring. Little things. Smelling what you're going to eat, because it gets you into using a real rake because you like the way it sounds and you can feel all the vibrations into your hand, and you're the only moving part. Hanging clothes on the clothesline. I'm here to tell you, a scratchy T-shirt is kind of a buzz. And somebody said if you hang them upside down, they won't have the pinch marks. But I hang them with the pinch mark, I walk around and feel like I did that. This is stupid stuff. You're not supposed to talk about stuff like this in a church or in a garden club table. But these are things that are important to me. When I plant tomatoes in the spring, and I'm gone to England, I'm usually there by the end of May, I probably won't see these ripen. I plant them anyway because it gives me hope. I always plant tomato plants because you never know, it might make it. But knowing that they're probably not going to make it, the day before I leave for the rest of the summer, I take a Sharpie pen out and I do this to them. It might be all I get. But you know what? I'm savoring my garden. That may be all I get. Little things like I did this day before yesterday. I was watering some plants in the Ag Museum, and I noticed if you put your thumb just right with the sun over your back, you can make a rainbow. Now that is not college-educated horticulture. That's gardening like a kid. But if you do it, you'll feel like a kid again. It'll make you feel great. Who's ever put bottles in their in their windows because it makes you feel better in the wintertime. You don't have the blues, seasonal affective disorder, because you got color in your life. You can take it out in the yard. This is one of my many sculptures in my garden made of glass, done by a glass artist. But I also like bottle trees. Anybody here have a bottle tree? We used to be pariahs. People used to just hate it because it's tacky. One lady said, they're tacky. And I'm thinking, you're hanging stuff out of holes in your ears. And she said, I beg your pardon. I said, that's right. You hang stuff out of holes in your ears, I put bottles in my tree. We are even. And in the wintertime, when there's nothing else out there, you can have all green bottles. It's okay. Dale Chihuly, world famous glass sculptor, I can't afford his stuff. I interviewed him for a book I did on garden glass ornaments, and I can't afford his stuff. So what am I going to do if I want that kind of thing? Well, you can. It's what we call redneck Chihuly. Okay, you can do this. The worst people can do it. By the way, Martha Stewart quoted me one time by name. She said something, and it's true. She said that I said, it doesn't matter what you do or how you do it, your neighbors are going to talk about you anyway. Okay? Well, I want to just throw this out. This is a quote I got out in the garden here. So it's wonderful. I don't know why I have never seen this quote before, but I just got to read it. It's one of Faulkner's saying. It was during an interview, not something he wrote. Where is it? Here we go. Listen to this. This is great. The aim of every artist is to arrest motion, which is life. Artificial means and holds it fixed so 100 years from now, when a stranger looks at it, it moves again, since it is life. Since man is mortal, the only immortality possible for him is to leave something behind that is immortal, since it will always move when other people enjoy it. This is the artist's way of scribbling Kilroy's here. Irrevocable oblivion through which he must someday pass. Art. Little things like this. May not, nobody's going to remember the stuff that I do, but you'll remember this. All we're doing is holding glass up to the sky so its colors can sing. It's not about voodoo. It's not about judgment. It's about just enjoy yourself. I just grow stuff in every possible kind of container. I mean, if this is a whole dirt, I'll grow it. I mean, this is Granny's old cook pot. Had a hole in it. She threw it away. So I planted stuff in it. I noticed on the front porch over here at the Faulkner Literary Garden, they got some stuff planted in a chamber pot. You know what you ought to plant in a chamber pot? Petunias. I'm just saying. It's one of my gardens. I love growing in containers. I like mixing stuff up that's pretty. When you're tired of looking at it, you can eat it. It's called edimental, not just edible or ornamental. Edimental. These are lettuces and kales and things that'll take freezes. I grow stuff in a hanging basket, lettuce, because the cat can't pee on it. The snails can't get to it. You give me a squirt bottle of vinaigrette, I don't even have to bend over to eat it. And I think it's pretty. I saw this one time, and I'm thinking, that's cool. Can't drive it, too many plants in it, but it's cool. So y'all know what I did. This is me. In 1988. 1988, yeah. I used to be able to see my belt buckle. I put a bag of potting soil in the back of my truck, planted some periwinkle, a pepper, and a tomato in it because I got tired of somebody whining. I can't garden. I don't have a place to garden. I'm thinking, what's the most difficult place on earth to grow stuff? And I figured in the back of a pickup truck and a bag of potting soil. And it worked. It didn't work great, but it worked. So I ended up doing this with it. It's what it looked like this morning when I realized that the shop wasn't going to be able to drive it. All of this is what it looked like when I got back from England 2 weeks ago. I've been gone since May. Okay, this is made up without being watered. It makes it through the wintertime. I found plants that like it here. And if you can do that little thing in a pot, this is just a bigger pot with some different plants in it. And I found plants that take 105 degrees, plants that take 9 degrees, plants that take no rain, plants that take 81 miles an hour. I got an official government document from the Louisiana Highway Patrol. I even did a pothole in my street. This is literally in my street, a pothole. I planted stuff in it. Anyway, standing in the gap. I want to skip through this because I want to get to the end real quick. I think it's important for us gardeners to realize that it's not just, pollinators is not just a buzzword. It's important to have symbols that we're connected out there. Dragonflies and butterflies and hummingbirds, they're okay, but so are spiders. This little link spider gives me the creeps, but isn't she beautiful? And she's out there doing something. She's eating things that want to eat your zinnias. Okay, she's part of it. And then a hummingbird comes along and eats that. And then, like snails, have any of you ever seen this snail? It's here. Union County's got them. It's called the rosy wolf snail. That snail is about the size of my thumb. Get this. It's the fastest snail in the state. I'm not making this up. It's a native snail. You know what it does for a living? It eats other snails. It's a snail-eating snail. So if you come across one of these, celebrate it. You don't have to eat it, but you don't have to put salt on it either. There's some really cool stuff if you just pay attention. Wildlife habitat, put a bird feeder out there, that's great, but so is having water. Now, this is a water garden I did for my mother. It's bigger than my backyard. So what I ended up doing was thinking, what can I do to have water in my garden? And here's the easiest thing I did. I got a bag of saccharine, one bag of $3 worth of saccharine. I poured it over a pile of dirt. When it dried, I turned it upside down and painted it. I had a really fancy bird bath that cost me $3. And I have squirrels, birds, butterflies, bees, all sorts of stuff, or I wouldn't have had it before. And I even found this in my garden. And the last thing about this, if you've ever had a tree die in your yard, ever have a tree die, and you feel like you got to cut it down, if it's not going to hit anything, leave it up. There's an incredible amount of wildlife that lives in it. If you don't have dead trees, you're not going to have stuff that lives in dead trees. It's called a snag. And it's actually all the English gardens do it because they don't have any place to haul this stuff off. So it's not going to hurt anything. Your neighbors aren't going to talk about you if you got a dead tree because they got one too. Maverick gardeners, talking about the kind of people who do their own thing. Which one of these gardeners do you think I'm most likely to want to talk to? They're different. Neighbors are going to talk about them. Got to hold your head up. It's just trying to enjoy yourself and hope that the neighbors understand. Now, there's a lot of folks. A friend of mine named Susie lives in my neighborhood. Her son died, and she had made a grief garden. She put some birdhouses out there, and now she's got 300 birdhouses. Beautiful garden, but she got those birds. So she called it birdhouse lady. They don't understand it's a grief garden. But she's expressing her grief through a little joyful thing in her garden. A guy named Dr. Dirt, he used to host my radio program. Dr. Dirt was 6'7", wore a do-rag, and he would snap his fingers like you wouldn't believe. But he had the most incredible garden I've ever seen. With no horticulture, no hose, nothing like that. He used to come to our radio program every Friday morning for 4 years, and he was my co-host. Every Friday morning, he would bring a bouquet of flowers from his yard all year long. Sometimes he had artificial stuff, sometimes it just leaves and stick. He had something in his garden every week of the year, and he said he couldn't even spell horticulture, didn't want to. And this is his house the year before he died. Yeah, it's been in Southern Living. This is his house 2 years after he died. Yeah, because it's ephemeral. Gardening in life are ephemeral. Art is ephemeral. A friend of mine named Jesse Yancey, who's from just down the road here. You know Jesse? He's a real nut, I love him to death. This is his garden. He put it on a street across. It wasn't in his property. He lived in an apartment. This is across the street from where he lived, and he started out with one plant. Nobody said anything. He put another plant. The next thing you know, he got all these plants, and children from the neighborhood coming over. He would show them how to collect herbs to cook with and make little cut flowers, grow things from seed. He moved away. 2 years later, this is what it looks like. Yeah, but that's what it looked like before he moved there. So for a little while, he lit up that corner of the world. It was wonderful. Now, I want to, my last little section here is really what I'm here for. I want to talk about stuff that we're all dealing with right now. Nostalgia. I'm from a little small town. By the way, this little town y'all have this town is rocking. I'm from the Delta, and ours are all gone. This little town is rocking. Y'all got all sorts of stuff going on. And Mayor, he's still here? He slipped away. Oh, there he is back in the corner. I don't know what y'all are doing, but this place is rocking. And like people actually live here and enjoy it and feel like they're part of a special part of the world. Well, looking back, the way things used to be is nostalgia. It's important to remember who we are, where we're from, who our people are, our cultures. Nostalgia is a positive thing unless you dwell on it too much. Well, there's another word out there I want to share with y'all. I'm from the part of the world, the Delta, where things are drying up. You know, we've had drought where we've never had drought before. It's scary. Whether you believe in climate change or not, something's happening out there. There's a house not very far from where I live, across the Louisiana line. It's called Oak Alley. This is what it looked like. And then after a hurricane came through just a handful of years ago, this is what it looks like now. Yeah. Things can be taken away. See, a stoic attitude means you appreciate things. You do as good as you can, but you don't expect things to be too good because it can be taken away from you in a flash. You also don't get too excited about great things because it can be taken away. So, I want to touch on this thing called solastalgia. This is something my life would head towards. Tornado came through Jackson, tore up a greenhouse. Tore up the greenhouse, completely wiped it out. All the trees are gone, greenhouse is smashed. And it's depressing. It's depressing, but nothing you can do about it. So there's a word called solastalgia. It's important. A lot of us experiencing this right now. Here's where it comes from solatium, or comfort, and algia, suffering or grief. You know, we have anxieties right now over things that are happening every day that we don't have any control over, and it's scary, or it's angry, or it's sad, whether it's politics or religion or whatever. There's a lot of things that are very anxiety producing, and we are living in it. There's nothing we can do. It gives us anxiety, and there's not a Wellbutrin to go around. So what do you do to deal with solastalgia? A couple of things. My magnolia tree died from drought. A magnolia tree, whatever killed the dinosaurs couldn't kill magnolia trees. They were here that long. But drought and yazoo clay killed my magnolia. And everybody else, you could have cut it down, whatever. I said, I'm not going to cut it down. I spray painted it black. You know, making lemonade out of lemons. And it was prettier, it's shiny black than it was when it was green. And then when it finally, all the leaves fell off, I turned it into a bottle tree and grew a rose on it. Okay? Because I'm not going to let it get me down. I'm going to find something positive. I had a large Cleara, 80-year-old Cleara shrub. It died. I cut it straight off, put a tabletop, and right now it's where I grow my succulents in the front yard. Instead of grinding up the stump, I turn it into something for a little while. Little things like that. Sitting on my swing, watching the dragonflies, hoping there's going to be fireflies, listening to the tree frogs, all these kind of things. I spend a lot of time out there thinking in my garden, because that's what I do. And I realize that gardening is a lot like cooking. Who has ever gotten a new jar of instant coffee, and when you first punch it through there, that fresh whiff of smell? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Yeah. That's life. We don't celebrate that. And it's all over the garden. Who's ever made sun tea? Oh, yeah. Was it any good? Yeah. No, it wasn't. Sun tea is highly variable. But the reason, shove enough sugar and some minutes could be okay. The reason we think it's best is because we did it ourselves. I did that. And it made me feel connected. And that's important. Making pepper sauce connects you with stuff. It focuses you. It takes your mind off this other stuff out there. Making homemade Christmas ornaments out of stuff from the yard. I do that every year. I got glue everywhere. I have glitter in every underwear drawer in my house. I'll never get rid of glitter. But doing things like this connects me. It's like what we did when we were kids. Playing this little game with the strings. It's not on YouTube anywhere. It's something we all learned how to do using a piece of string and rubber, the only moving part, and it connected us. Master Gardener is giving rooting demonstrations on growing roses in a cemetery where we grow roses. Having plant swaps. Eudora Welty told me one time over supper, her mother quit the garden club because they stopped swapping plants at the meetings. Wow. Yeah, they don't write about that, do they? We have an agriculture museum in Jackson, have a little herb garden. It's very similar, along the same lines of what y'all have done right here. It brings people together looking at things that they don't have at home and inspiring them. Teaching children how to grow stuff. And to sort of kind of wrap things up here, I was raised by people who showed me things and explained them to me and made me touch and smell and feel and hear instead of just reading stuff. And if you want our children to grow up to be like this, you got to start them out like this. This is my mother showing my daughter how to pick up pecans by stepping on them and make sure they didn't break. If they broke, they were faulty, they weren't picking up. If they smashed in, she showed her, she would just wiggle her fingers in the leaves, and it changed my daughter's whole perspective because somebody took time to show her simple things, not about composting or anything like that. When she got a little bit older, I showed her about honeysuckle, that vile, invasive, exotic plant. But every time she puts that little piece of a nectar to her tongue, the rest of her, I don't care how old she is, where she could be, the rest of her life, she can have a very strange life. But every time she smells honeysuckle, she can be a little girl again, and I'm going to be alive. Because that's the kind of thing Faulkner was talking about. Doing things that make a difference, that repeat themselves. This is my daughter now. I help her garden. She had a little garden. It's only 6 by 8, but she gardens. She has so much fun in that little garden. It's a way to get away from the stress of her work, and she enjoys that. My granddaughter, 4 years old. I'm making her smell stuff, just like I did my granddaughter. And every time she does something like this, she's learning how to do something that hopefully she'll share with somebody that not get balled up in horticulture, all the same kind of stuff. She found out about worms. She's a little girl in Jackson not afraid of worms because she thinks they're normal. And they eat leaves and they feed the roots, Dad, Granddad. So she calls me Felder. Do I look like a papaw to you? I showed her how to watch snapdragons. They're called snapdragons. Anybody know? If you don't know, because you weren't raised right. Snapdragons, that little dragon, you can make them snap. These are the kind of things that are more important than horticulture, which you can read in a book. These are the kind of things you have to share. Here at the Faulkner Garden, they got this plant called, what do y'all call it? Sedum? Autumn joy? Y'all know the plant? How many of you know what you can do with the leaves? Anybody know? You mash them up, you blow them up, we call it frog belly. You're not going to learn that from horticulture. They don't teach that in master gardening classes. It's the kind of thing, let me back it up. No, I don't know how to back stuff up. But you mash the leaves up, you blow them up like a frog belly. That's a stupid little thing that connects people. And when I think about Jesse Yancey, who when he had that little corner garden, he had children how to make little bouquets and things. When the orange daylily starts blooming, that vile old common, vulgar, outhouse, ditchbank lily, when it blooms, all over the world, it lights up. You can see the connections between people because it wasn't put there by nature. Every time it lights up, you can see connections between people. And that's the kind of stuff I want to talk about tonight. If you've got a chance, I am on radio programs every week. Take a kid, go to a farmer's market, go to a garden center, take somebody with you, show people how to do what we do best, and that's to get dirty. Plants don't care who you are. They don't care who your mama and them are. They don't care how you vote. They don't care what church you go to. They just want to connect people. They're a perfect opportunity to connect people. And you've got an opportunity. And you're doing that right here in this Faulkner Museum. You're connecting people, not just to words through Faulkner, but connecting them through plants that they remember from their childhood. And they can take it from there. My mother always told me not to thank anybody for a plant. Have y'all heard this before? We said the best way to thank somebody for a plant is to pass a piece along to somebody else. And I deeply appreciate the opportunity that Shara and Jill give me to pass along with y'all. Thank you so much. And if you want to learn about horticulture, call your county extension office. or tune in to my radio program on MPB or join the Mississippi Gardening Facebook. I can say it is the only Facebook site on Facebook where people are nice or they get kicked off. Thank you.
Well, that makes you want to go home and do something kind of tacky in your garden, don't
Steal some trees and share with everybody.
I think my garden's kind of like yours. My neighbors probably talk about me, but oh well. But 20 years ago, we all saw an empty lot that had been a coal yard and an alley. And you have to go over there and see it tonight. And it's turned into a lush and unique and a beautiful garden that celebrates Mississippi's only Nobel Prize winner from his birth site. And as we say, happy birthday, William Faulkner. But there's one constant that's been with this garden project the entire time, and that's Shara Owen. She sat around that first table, and she was a natural person to chair the committee that started it all because she knows everything. I mean, we all know what Shara knows, and she knows everything about plants. But she's got this spirit about her of sharing her knowledge and helping people. And we want to celebrate Shara tonight for her leadership and her knowledge and her sweat equity for the last 20 plus years. We love you, Shara, and we appreciate all you've done. And I've got something I've got to get out of the closet here, so hang on. This is a plaque that should be in the garden. Read it for us.
In honor of Shara Owen, whose vision and unwavering commitment transformed this little postage stamp of native soil into the beautiful and inspirational William Faulkner Literary Garden, featuring floral of, I can't say that.
Y'all
can whatever. For all those who enter, may it ever be known that Shara was here.
But that's not all. That's just the start of our celebration of Shara.
Mr. Rushing, I appreciated your comments about New Albany being a rocking town.
It is.
And it is because of the great vision and dreamers, just like the people that make up this garden club. That's what makes New Albany special. So thank you all. As a legislator, one of my jobs is to be able to recognize great moments in our town's history and great achievers in our town. So it is my privilege, on behalf of the Mississippi House of Representatives, to honor the Union County Heritage Museum as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the William Faulkner Literary Garden. This garden is more than just a beautiful space. It's a fragrant and whimsical tribute to one of America's greatest writers. It is filled with living examples of the plant material Faulkner wrote about in his novels. Here, in this garden, is where literature and landscape meet, inviting visitors to experience Faulkner's words, not just on page or paper, but in the sights, scents, and textures of a garden. For 2 decades, this garden has enriched our community, drawn visitors from all over the world, and reminded us of New Albany's place in literary history. It reflects both the vision of this museum and the dedication of the countless volunteers who support and nurture this garden. So today, with gratitude and pride, it is my honor to present a Mississippi House of Representatives proclamation recognizing the Union County Heritage Museum and the William Faulkner Literary Garden on its 20th anniversary. May this garden continue to inspire, educate, and delight for decades to come. It's also my honor to present this Mississippi House of Representatives proclamation to a lady whose service has enriched our town. 20 years ago, she chaired the William Faulkner Literary Garden Development Committee, creating a living tribute to New Albany's famous son. She's also given 47 years of dedicated service to the New Albany Garden Club, embodying the very best of stewardship, beauty, and community pride. Ms. Shara Owen, on behalf of the state of Mississippi, we thank you for your extraordinary leadership, lasting contributions for this community. Here's your proclamation.
Now it's time for us to move to the garden, and we've got another little surprise for Shara out there in the garden. And we also have a lot of refreshments and some garden tours. And we'd like for you to exit from this store because there's another sweet little garden out here done by Allie Bullock. She's a Girl Scout, and she's done a Girl Scout garden, so y'all can just try.
coming through, not this particular one, but William Faulkner's life began as his father managed the railroad in New Albany of the Faulkner Railroad that came from Ripley to Pontotoc in the 1800s. So it greeted us nicely, didn't it? I do not know if I can do this or not, but my Faulkner Garden Committee, where are you, Faulkner Garden Committee, and Jill and Ellen? Where are you, Ellen? I'm gathering my chickens. Where? Okay, good deal. We are here tonight to rededicate this garden. Can you hear us over the train? To 20 years ago, the New Albany Garden Club and the Union County Heritage Museum came together and maintained this garden, has maintained it for 20 years, dedicated to the people who till this land and to William Faulkner, who wrote about his postage stamp of native soil. Gardeners, people in this area have always had a garden. There are no garden centers, but they passed along plants. And you'll see in this garden pass-alongs, and one quote where Granny was coming up the road with a rose cutting in her, wrapped in paper in her hand. So this is indicative of the people, and we dedicate this garden to those people and to Faulkner who wrote about it. And Faulkner is going to have a toast. If you do not have something to toast with, it's right here.
See, we could not envision it when it started.
I don't know anything about toast except to say what a wonderful place, what wonderful people. I don't know whether the people make the place or the place make the people, but here's to William Faulkner's birthday in this wonderful museum. Cheers.
Who is still driving us and forcing us to keep this garden just like it needs to be, so it honors William Faulkner and it attracts many people to New Albany. And we are very proud of the William Faulkner Literary Garden. Well, that driving force is no secret. That driving force is Shira Owen. William Faulkner wrote a children's book, and it was called The Wishing Tree. And children would go by that tree and pick a leaf, make a wish, and their wish would come true. Well, obviously, Shira Owen found that tree somewhere, and she must have picked a leaf, and she made a wish, and her Faulkner garden became a reality and is still a reality. So, in that vein, I am going to direct your attention, Shira, look over here. I'm going to direct your attention over here where we commissioned a hardscape to be placed in the garden by the New Albany Garden Club to the William Faulkner Garden. And John Kinney from Mississippi Metal Magic and his apprentice, Stephen Rutledge, constructed for us this gift to the garden that we are presenting, that the New Albany Garden Club is presenting in honor of Shira Owen. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Wishing Tree.
Oh my goodness.
Go look. It has 20 leaves on it, which are in honor of the 20 years that we've had this garden. And so please do go by and look at the wishing tree that Shira has been presented. So thank you.
Oh, my word.
So neat. Wow, 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 wow. Oh my goodness gracious. Come this way a little. Ah, I love it. Oh my goodness gracious. Who could ever have? That was such a wonderful thing. What's it made of?
Pedal out of the middle. I can honestly say no. Karen, my sister and her daughter. How are you? I'm good. How are you?
Yeah.